Battle Through the Heavens. Episode 190. At the end of the previous episode, the crowd is stunned by the appearance of two terrifying formations, vastly stronger than the Hall of Souls' earlier Tianluo Sealing Demon formation. One dominates the sky while the other seals the ground, radiating power capable of annihilating everyone present with ease. As fear and shock spread, Xiao Yan suddenly clutches his head when the mysterious light cluster within him begins to tremble, hinting that an unknown force is on the verge of awakening. The fire array in the sky blotted out the sun. The two fire arrays appeared like two extremely huge fireplates that covered this realm from above and below. Xiao Yan's group appeared like ants within these two enormous plates. They seemed insignificant at a glance. He actually is able to control the great array placed by the purifying demonic Lotus Saint. Old man Hun Mo's eyes were filled with disbelief when he saw this unexpected change. He suddenly recovered a moment later and hurriedly threw his eyes to the slowly rotating spatial tunnel some distance away. That was the path that led back to the central plains. "Quick, retreat!" Old man Hun Mo involuntarily cried out as his eyes flashed. His body took the lead to rush toward the spatial tunnel. This large array had been created by the purifying demonic Lotus Saint. Even though that ultimate expert, whom even the clan head of the Hun clan admitted he was no match for, still wielded a mighty reputation that was deeply imprinted into the ears of those who had heard about what he had done. The chief of the Hall of Souls group hesitated for a moment after seeing old man Hun Mo's flee. However, they could only clench their teeth and follow him with great unwillingness. Someone as strong as old man Hun Mo had turned into this homeless stray. From the looks of it, this large array was extremely terrifying. Old man Hun Mo's decision to flee undoubtedly caused many to panic. The other elders from the ancient clan's expressions greatly changed. All of them briefly hesitated before clenching their teeth and following him. Although the temptation of the purifying demonic lotus flame was unimaginable, one needed to be alive to enjoy it. Xun and the others watched these people flee. They frowned and quickly swung their heads to Xiao Yan. But Xiao Yan was standing there holding his head as some pain vaguely surfaced on his face. "Xiao Yan Jie. What has happened?" Xun face changed after seeing Xiao Yan's face. She hurriedly cried out, "We should also leave." Xiao Yan clenched his teeth. His mind churned, causing his soul to repeatedly emit a giddiness. Although he did not understand how these large arrays were built, he was able to sense an annihilation force from the fluctuations present. If that force were to spread, everyone present would immediately turn into dust. Haha, it is too late to try and leave now. I will refine everyone here to be my fire slaves. Xiao Yan's words had only just left his mouth when the purifying demonic lotus flame in the sky, 100,000 feet above, wildly laughed. His finger gently pressed down on the spatial tunnel, and a cream-white magma pillar shot out of the huge array below. The magma struck the tunnel with a lightning-like momentum, shattering it into pieces. Old man Hun Mo appeared in front of the collapsed spatial tunnel. His expression was gloomy. This purifying demonic lotus flame was not intending on letting any of them off. "What should we do?" The chief of the Hall of Souls and his group hurried over. He frowned and asked a question. "How should I know? This demonic flame realm was built by the purifying demonic Lotus Saint. He is said to be in existence, which was closest to a Dudi during that era. No one currently on the continent would be able to forcefully charge into the realm he created without passing through this tunnel. Don't tell me that we should simply wait and die." The deputy chief of the Hall of Souls grit his teeth and demanded an answer. "It will not be easy to kill us." Old man Hun Mo coldly laughed. His eyes quickly landed on the ancestor of the Pill Tower as he cried out in a deep voice, "Why don't we cooperate? Currently, he is in control of the Refining Sky Ancient Formation. Even you will not be a match for him in a one-on-one fight. The Refining Sky Ancient Formation is divided into the sky and the earth. I will deal with the sky array. The earth array will be left to you." The ancestor of the Pill Tower did not have time to argue with old man Hun Mo, who had rapidly changed his stance because of the situation. He immediately stated in a deep voice, "All right, Xiao Chen, little ancient void dragon girl, Gunanhai, you will all attack with me and deal with the sky array." The ancestor of the Hall of Souls turned his head, looked at Xiao Chen's group, and softly cried out, "I." There was little time to consider too much at this moment. The spatial tunnel had been removed by the purifying demonic lotus flame. If they did not join hands to fight, all of them would be refined into the fire slaves of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Immediately, the group nodded, their bodies moved and appeared beside the ancestor of the pill tower. Old Man Hun Mo was also trying to get some experts from other factions, who had reached the 4th star of the Do Sheng class, to join him while the ancestor of the pill tower was gathering helpers. Although these people were not really fond of Old Man Hun Mo, they could not care about much at this moment. Their lives were at stake. An inconsequential effort, although I really hate that fellow. Do you really think that I would have remained trapped in this place for thousands of years if the formation he had placed could be broken by you weaklings? The purifying demonic lotus flame coldly laughed after the pill tower ancestor and the others gathered together. A murderous intent surged within his eyes. He was too lazy to say anything more. With a change of his hand seal, those large formations, which covered the sky and the earth, rumbled and slowly rotated like discs. The energy of the realm quickly became extremely wild and violent as both large formations slowly rotated. Some of the experts whose strength had reached the Ban Sheng class immediately paled. There were even some who ended up spitting up a mouthful of fresh blood. These large arrays had yet to unleash any attacks, but some were unable to endure any longer. The purifying demonic Lotus Saint really lived up to his reputation, refining sky ancient formation, refined the sky into slaves. The purifying demonic lotus flame floated in the sky, as cream, white flame surged out of his body in all directions and then poured into the large arrays. Bang! A cry sounded and the realm violently trembled. A circular cream, white light circle swiftly gathered from the edges of the large arrays. Finally, it gathered into a 1,000-foot large cream, white pillar in front of many shocked eyes. The interior of the light pillar was filled with a destructive energy. Refine. The purifying demonic lotus flame revealed a dense expression on his face. He suddenly pointed his finger down. Both the sky and the earth arrays violently shook before 2 cream, white light pillars shot out like fountains. The targets of the light pillars were the ancestor from the Pill Tower and Old Man Hun Mo. Attack together. As this incomparably ferocious attack came closer, even someone as strong as the ancestor from the Pill Tower displayed an extremely grave expression. A low cry sounded as a drop of half-green and half-golden blood shot out from his finger. In the blink of an eye, it grew to a couple of 1,000 feet in size. A shocking energy fluctuation, along with a dense pill fragrance, spread from it. Xiao Chen and the others by the side also unleashed their powerful Do Qi while adopting grave faces. Their Do Qi followed close behind that blood-light cluster as they headed toward the cream-colored light descending from the sky. Old Man Hun Mo and the others below also unleashed all of their abilities. They combined their strength and ruthlessly charged toward the light pillar that was rushing up. Bang bang! The collision merely lasted for an instant. An earth-shaking explosion spread across the realm. That magma sea region below had formed a deep pit that was millions of feet in size. The magma inside had been pushed back hundreds of feet. Ha! What stubborn resistance. Refine. The eyes of the purifying demonic lotus flame flickered as he stood in the sky. He appeared to be in a somewhat crazy state. Both of his hands pressed down. The blood-light cluster and Old Man Hun Mo's group below, which were bitterly blocking the attack, emitted a bang. They were completely destroyed. After the destruction of the obstructions, both light pillars began to fly through the sky with an extremely shocking speed. One chased after the ancestor of the Pill Tower and the other chased after Old Man Hun Mo before they suddenly colliding together in the sky, from the distant sky. The purifying demonic lotus flame watched as a flame swiftly spread by millions of feet, with its center being the point where the light pillars had clashed. He involuntarily laughed to the sky. Now, no one could stop him from escaping. Purifying demonic lotus saint, do you think that you can destroy me like this? I am a divine object and will naturally be protected by the world. Haha, the purifying demonic lotus flame was going somewhat crazy. He was finally going to escape after thousands of years of being sealed. How could he not be excited enough to lose himself? However, this wild laughter did not continue for long before the purifying demonic lotus flame gradually regained his calm. Suddenly, he lowered his head. His eyes were surprised as he scanned the point where the light pillars had crossed. He sensed a lot of auras present at that spot. Still alive. How is this possible? The cream, white flame that lingered over the sky slowly paled. A faint light circle appeared in front of the purifying demonic lotus flame's eyes after the flame disappeared. Xiaoyan was at the middle of this light circle, the ancestor of the Pill Tower, Old Man Hun Mo, and everyone else did not appear to have suffered any serious injuries despite appearing a little miserable at this moment. Not only was the purifying demonic lotus flame stunned, even the ancestor of the Pill Tower and the others were in a daze as they looked at the light circle around them. This light circle might appear weak, but it was able to block an attack that could destroy a 6-star Dao Sheng. Everyone exchanged glances with each other. Clearly, none of them understood what had just occurred. Xiaoyan ge ge, Shunna suddenly exclaimed while everyone was feeling lost. All pairs of eyes shifted, only to see that Xiaoyan seemed to have descended into an unconscious state. His body, however, was emitting a faint glow. This glow slowly gathered on the surface of his body. Finally, it turned into a somewhat illusionary human figure, purifying demonic lotus flame. Everyone was greatly shocked when this human figure appeared because the appearance of this person was identical to the purifying demonic lotus flame in the sky. No, it is not the purifying demonic lotus flame, it is the purifying demonic lotus saint. The ancestor from the Pill Tower stared at the figure outside of Xiaoyan's body with startled eyes. He suddenly seemed to have detected something and cried out in shock. What? Everyone felt something exploded above their scalps after hearing these words. Why would this ultimate expert, who was rumored to have died thousands of years ago, suddenly appear on Xiaoyan? Xiaoyan, whose eyes were tightly shut, suddenly trembled while everyone was feeling shocked. Both of his eyes were slowly opened, but his dark black eyes had turned cream white. His eyes slowly roamed over the people present. Those people his eyes met would involuntarily feel a desire to worship him, as a fluttering feeling materialized deep within their soul. Even an expert as strong as Old Man Hun Mo was no exception. The purifying demonic lotus saint was an expert known as the closest to the Dodi class back then. Who would have thought that he would appear again in this state? This is what happened. Shun'er's group was stunned as they looked at Xiaoyan, or perhaps it would be better to say the illusory figure wrapping around the surface of his body. Why did this legendary purifying demonic lotus saint appear on Xiaoyan's body? It's related to that ancient map. Yao Lao frowned before he suddenly recalled something. That ancient map was the only relationship between Xiaoyan and the purifying demonic lotus saint. Xiaoyan had gathered that thing for many years and had finally obtained all of them. But he had only gained some secret information that was not really a secret. However, Yao Lao had clearly remembered that a light had shot into Xiaoyan's head after the ancient map had been gathered. That light might be the thing causing this situation to occur in Xiaoyan. What should we do? Jun'er asked a little anxiously. No one knew whether this purifying demonic lotus saint was good or bad, but he was possessing Xiaoyan's body at this moment. If something unexpected happened, the one who would suffer the most would undoubtedly be Xiaoyan. Don't panic. Since he has intervened to rescue all of us, he likely does not have any ill intentions. His aim should be the purifying demonic lotus flame. The ancestor from the Pill Tower remarked in a deep voice, "This brat. How did he attract the purifying demonic lotus saint? This purifying demonic lotus saint does not appear to be in a spiritual form. Instead, it is more like a remnant imprint. But just this remnant imprint actually possesses such a mighty strength. The purifying demonic lotus saint really lives up to his reputation." Old Man Hun Mo's and everyone's eyes locked on Xiaoyan as this thought continued to appear in their hearts. Xiaoyan, who had been possessed by the purifying demonic lotus saint, slowly lifted his head while everyone was dealing with different thoughts. He waved his sleeve and the cream, white circular barrier slowly disappeared. A pair of white eyes looked at the purifying demonic lotus flame in the sky. Purifying demonic lotus saint. How is this possible? How can you still be alive? That purifying demonic lotus flame in the sky quickly focused on Xiaoyan the moment the light barrier scattered. His heart formed a great storm when he saw who that figure belonged to on the surface of Xiaoyan's body. A shocked roar filled with disbelief reverberated across the sky. It seems that you have yet to calm the violence within your heart after being sealed for thousands of years. Bastard, purifying demonic lotus saint, you ungrateful bastard, would you have been able to attain your achievements without me? I have aided you so much, but you ended up sealing me in the end. Haha. You deserve to be killed by the backlash. The purifying demonic lotus flame looked at Xiao Yan with a ferocious expression as he crazily laughed. It seemed like he wanted to pour all of the monstrous hatred in his heart out. I am responsible for you becoming this brutal. The destructive force of the demonic flame is far too great. If you are allowed to leave as you please, the world would end up facing a great disaster. Xiao Yan slowly shook his head as he replied, "Humph. A mere remnant image dares to act arrogantly in front of me. Do you really think that you are still that all-powerful, purifying demonic lotus saint?" The purifying demonic lotus flame glared at Xiao Yan with all the hatred he felt. The seal formed by his hands suddenly changed, and those two incomparably huge fire arrays began to rotate. This array was personally placed by you back then. Today, I will let you have a taste of its might. Refine, the purifying demonic lotus flame furiously cried out after his words sounded. Two light pillars filled with a destructive force formed as one shot from the sky formation and one from the earth formation. After which, they had been aimed at where Xiao Yan and closed in on him with lightning. Like speed, everyone's expressions changed after seeing the purifying demonic lotus flame unleash the might of the formation again. If that light pillar struck them, it was likely that less than 5 would end up surviving. Swoosh! Those two light pillars heading toward the group suddenly came to a halt. After this calm voice sounded, the light pillars paused around 50 feet, both in above and below everyone. That destructive force radiating from it caused everyone's skin to turn somewhat numb. The refining sky ancient formation was created by me. You are no match for me in terms of understanding it. A faint smile rose on Xiao Yan's face. He looked at the ugly expressions of the purifying demonic lotus flame as he softly spoke. Bastard, the purifying demonic lotus flame involuntarily cursed upon seeing the pillars stop. However, his curse had only just sounded when his expression changed. He had discovered that his control over the formation was gradually disappearing. Rumble. The two huge fire arrays present trembled at this moment. Finally, layer after layer of cream. White flames suddenly shot out of the formation and entered the body of the purifying demonic lotus flame. After these flames entered his body, the purifying demonic lotus flame began to lose control of the refining sky ancient formation. Purifying demonic lotus saint, I will fight it out with you. The eyes of the purifying demonic lotus flame quickly turned blood red after losing control over the formation. He was aware of the frightening strength this formation possessed. If the purifying demonic lotus saint were to gain control of it, he would end up having difficulty escaping the seal again. He had already lived a couple thousand years in such a bitter fashion and had already become incomparably tired of it. Demonic flame world destruction. The body of the purifying demonic lotus flame rapidly swelled. Finally, it emitted a bang and transformed into a monstrous flame that spread. The energy present within this space was vaporized by the extremely high temperature in an instant. Ah! A Ban Sheng emitted a miserable screech after the strength within the purifying demonic lotus flame's body erupted. The Do Chi within his body began to burn as his meridians became distorted. Bang! Soon after this, Ban Sheng let out a miserable screech. His body erupted into a cluster of black ashes, which drifted into the sea of magma below. Everyone around felt their limbs turn cold because of these ashes. The energy in the realm had been vaporized by the purifying demonic lotus flame. If they continued to remain, they would not be able to replenish the energy within their bodies. They would only end up with one final fate, being incinerated to death. Even Ziyan was not confident that she could rely on her Du Qi to resist the terrifying temperature of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Hence, one needed to quickly leave this damn realm if one wished to live. Qi, hurry up and leave. No one will be able to live if the purifying demonic lotus flame really explodes. Everyone felt a wild joy in their hearts after hearing the indifferent words that came from Xiao Yan. Some did not even give the matter any thought as they immediately moved and rushed to the spatial tunnel. Young miss, we should also hurry up and leave. Gu Nanhai faced Chun-Er and spoke. This realm was far too dangerous. No one had expected the purifying demonic lotus flame to be this terrifying. But Xiao Yan, ge. Zhana knit her brows, her eyes locked onto Xiao Yan. But Xiao Yan seemed to have been possessed by the purifying demonic lotus saint. Who could guarantee that the purifying demonic lotus saint would not do anything to Xiao Yan if she simply left? We should leave first. It is pointless to be worried. We will not help Xiaoyan by staying here. That purifying demonic lotus saint has borrowed his body to appear. It is likely that he will not harm Xiaoyan." Yao Lao mused for a moment before clenching his teeth and stating in a deep voice. Xun gently bit her lower red lip with her teeth after hearing this statement. Her eyes revealed her hesitation. She was really worried to leave Xiaoyan alone in this lifeless realm. Moreover, the ferocious, purifying, demonic lotus flame present, the cream-white flame in the sky, continued to widen while everyone was hesitating. In the end, a pink color gradually began to appear in the middle of the flame. These pink flames slowly gathered before a bright, pinkish, red demonic fire lotus appeared in the sky and slowly rotated. Even an expert like Gunan Hai became a flushed red after this bright, red fire lotus appeared. The Do Qi within their bodies felt like it was boiling, as though it was about to ignite. "Let's go." It was impossible to continue delaying any longer at this moment. Gunan Hai grabbed Xuner's hand. His body flashed as he rushed toward the spatial tunnel. Behind them, Yao Lao once again glanced at Xiaoyan, who was standing with his hands behind him. But he could only clench his teeth and swiftly follow. An unknown feeling rose within Xuner's heart when she saw Xiaoyan grow distant in her eyes. She felt that Xiaoyan needed her. "Elder, once you return, please tell father that Xuner will be willful this one time." Xuner bit her lower lip. Her hand suddenly shook as she escaped Gunanhai's grasp. Her palm pressed against the Gunanhai's back as a gentle force sent him into the spatial tunnel. This unexpected change had clearly exceeded Gunanhai's expectations. Hence, he didn't have time to react. He simply entered the spatial tunnel and disappeared. Take good care of Xiaoyan. We will wait for the both of you to come out." Yao Lao, who was behind, widened his mouth upon seeing Xun remain. He could only bitterly smile and let out a quiet sigh. His body moved and entered the spatial tunnel. He was quite confident in Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan had experienced all sorts of difficulties during these years. This time around, he would definitely successfully escape. The spatial tunnel finally disappeared after Yao Lao rushed into it. Xun turned around. Her pretty eyes were grave as she looked at the figure standing with his hands behind his back. Golden flames slowly swept out of her body. Xiaoyan Ge. "Ji, this time around, Xun will accompany you." Every part of this vast realm had filled with cream, white demonic flames. An indescribably high temperature filled this magma world. Even an elite Do Sheng, who had reached the 4th star or even 5th star, would not be able to remain for long because the temperature present could even incinerate Do Qi. Xun floated in the sky as a golden flame continued to surge from her body. Even though she, the Gold Emperor, incinerating heavenly flame, was guarding her, she was still drenched in perspiration. Fortunately, the Do Qi within her body did not show signs of combusting. There was a reason the Gold Emperor incinerating heavenly flame had obtained such a high rank. Xun eyes roamed the distant sky before finding the origin point of this sea of flames. A fire lotus with a demonic aura was slowly rotating at that spot. Each time it rotated, its color would flicker between dark, red and white. Buzz! The rotating fire lotus finally returned to a white, but its petals were covered with tiny red veins. At a glance, they appeared just like the blood vessels of a person. Occasionally, a red light flashed, causing this beautiful fire lotus to be filled with a demonic aura. "When I first met you back then, your body was as pure as a baby. I brought you intelligence, allowing you to possess the thoughts of a human. However, the path you have taken is opposite from what I had intended." That illusory figure outside of Xiaoyan's body softly sighed as he studied the fire lotus, which was filled with a demonic aura. "Purifying demonic lotus saint. It is up to me how I wish to grow. You are meddling too much." Light was emitted from the demonic lotus body as the purifying demonic lotus flame furiously roared. "I only wish that you will avoid self-destructing. I am the one who has caused you to fill with this hatred, so allow me to finally end everything." The illusory figure observed the fire lotus as his hand seal changed. The two large arrays that covered this realm suddenly rushed forward, one up and one down. Soon after they moved, a huge fire curtain shot out and swiftly formed a square prison, which sealed the demonic lotus inside. "I will remove the intelligence and memories that I have bestowed upon you. In the future, you will be as pure as when I had discovered you back then." Purifying demonic lotus saint. "You heartless bastard. I will not allow you to do as you please. A furious roar was once again emitted from the demonic lotus before it began rotating at a rapid speed. Waves of unusually terrifying blood-colored flames shot out of the demonic lotus. The fire curtain formed by the array suddenly became distorted because of these strange blood-colored flames. I had thought of removing your memories when I had reached my limits back then, but I was unable to remove them. This was why I sealed you here. I was hoping to resolve your brutalness and murderous nature. Looking at it now, the thousands of years of being sealed has caused your hatred to become even more intense. Since this is the case, the purifying demonic lotus saint looked at the wildly struggling purifying demonic lotus flame and softly sighed. His hand seal changed, and the massive formation suddenly began to collapse from its outer edges. Following the collapse of the outer parts of the formation, the fire pillar that had locked onto the purifying demonic lotus flame became more solid. Bang, bang, bang. The purifying demonic lotus flame wildly attacked the fire curtain as the formation rotated. That earth-shaking sounds of the collision caused the golden flame on the surface of Jun-Er's body to become a little dimmer. Refining sky ancient formation. Remove. The purifying demonic lotus saint's illusory hand was gently waved, and one could see the fire curtain shot out many flame lines. These lines formed a fireweb that was imprinted on the demonic lotus, after which the fireweb was slowly lifted as wisps of a blood-colored fog were pushed out of the body of the demonic lotus. Ah! A miserable screech was quickly emitted from the demonic lotus after this blood-colored fog appeared. The demonic lotus wildly rotated, but no matter what kind of powerful energy it unleashed, it was unable to break the fire curtain created from that formation. The energy that the refining sky ancient formation has absorbed for thousands of years has been completely unleashed this time around. You will not be able to block it. Little demon, leave with me. The purifying demonic lotus saint controlled the fire lines and forced out the blood-colored fog, which represented the memories and intelligence of the purifying demonic lotus flame, a little at a time. A soft sound was emitted during the process. Nonsense. Without memories and intelligence, the purifying demonic flame will no longer have its own consciousness in the future. What is the difference between this and killing me? You said that you would not take my life, but taking my memories and intelligence means that you intend to kill me, you hypocrite. The purifying demonic lotus flame's heart started to panic as he sensed his mind gradually become blank. He roared out loud. Once his memories and intelligence were completely removed, he would be considered dead. You are incomparably violent and have also obtained my inheritance. If you are allowed to break the seal, a great disaster will befall the world. This disaster was started by me. Naturally, it will have to be averted by me. The purifying demonic lotus saint's illusory figure shook his head. He ceased saying anything more. His hand seal changed, and the many lines of fire within the fire curtain suddenly surrounded the demonic lotus. Ah! Wave after wave of a dense blood fog swiftly surged out of the demonic lotus. The blood fog swiftly formed a blood figure in the air above the demonic lotus. This blood figure was the same human figure that the purifying demonic lotus flame had appeared as before. The blood figure of the purifying demonic lotus flame tried to lower itself in an attempt to enter the demonic lotus after being forced out of its body. However, the purifying demonic lotus saint did not give it such an opportunity. He clenched his hand and the fire curtain rapidly shrank. The four lines transformed into a 10-foot large fire prison. Master, please let me go this time around. I will definitely change in the future. The purifying demonic lotus flame struggled, but the demonic lotus was not able to break out of the fire prison. He began to feel afraid. Having left his body, his strength had diminished to less than 10% of what it had been. It was unable to fight the purifying demonic lotus saint now. So he knelt down and begged for mercy from the purifying demonic lotus saint. The illusory figure formed by the purifying demonic lotus saint sighed when the purifying demonic lotus flame started to beg for mercy. He waved his sleeves and the illusory figure left Xiaoyan's body. The figure drifted into the fire prison and landed in front of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Xiaoyan, Jie. Zhan-Er hurriedly flew over and grabbed Xiaoyan after the purifying demonic lotus saint had left Xiaoyan's body. Why have you not left? Xiaoyan was not unconscious. His soul had been suppressed by the purifying demonic lotus saint. He involuntarily but softly chided Zhan-Er after escaping. He had watched this girl send Gu Nanhai flying and remain behind. Jun-er rejoiced in her heart after she made sure that Xiaoyan was fine. She wasn't worried about Xiaoyan's chiding. Her hand tightly grabbed his arm before her eyes landed on the fire curtain. Xiaoyan felt helpless once she grabbed him, but his large hand wrapped around Jun-er's delicate and smooth hand. "Little demon, I do not hate you. Even though you retaliated against me back then, I still do not hate you. I have never had any disciples or any children in my life. Since the beginning, you have been the one closest to me." The purifying demonic lotus saint's hand gently rubbed the purifying demonic lotus flame's head. His somewhat illusory face revealed a warm smile. "However, I hate you." The purifying demonic lotus flame suddenly lifted his head. His blood-red eyes glared at the purifying demonic lotus saint. A bloody fog suddenly erupted and wrapped around the purifying demonic lotus saint. The bloody fog crazily eroded the purifying demonic lotus saint's body. Xiaoyan and Shun revealed startled faces as they watched this occur from outside the prison. This purifying demonic lotus flame was far too violent. This appearance is just like back then. A faint, tragic appearance overcame the purifying demonic lotus saint's face as he felt the erosion of the purifying demonic lotus flame. He softly sighed as he slowly reached out with his hand. "Together, we will disappear from this world forever." The enormous fire arrays suddenly collapsed after the purifying lotus demon saint emitted this statement. Finally, they turned into two extremely bright lights that shot out and ruthlessly struck the fire curtain. Bang! Xiaoyan grabbed Shun-er's delicate waist and extended his wings behind him upon sensing the explosion that could destroy the world, after which he hurriedly pulled back. The storm swept over the realm, 100,000 foot. Large crack appeared in the sea of magma. Such an enormous crack was something that the magma present could not fill. The sky was completely empty. Only after the wild and violent energy storm disappeared did Xiaoyan and Shun-er finally appear. They exchanged glances with each other before they quickly rushed to the center of the explosion. Light flickered in the sky as Xiaoyan and Shun-er paused their bodies. They searched the empty area. The purifying demonic lotus saint and the purifying demonic lotus flame had completely disappeared. It was as though they had vanished amid that earth-shaking collision earlier. "Where is the demonic flame essence?" Xiaoyan muttered as he looked at the empty sky. Could the purifying demonic lotus flame have been destroyed in that explosion? If that was the case, would it not mean that this fight for the purifying demonic lotus flame was a waste? Damn it! Xiaoyan cursed with dissatisfaction. He had collected the ancient maps for over a decade because of this purifying demonic lotus flame, after which he had waited for 3 years. Was really possible that he had ended with this result? Xiaoyan Ge, look. While Xiaoyan was filled with dissatisfaction in his heart, Shun-er suddenly pointed her finger at the magma sea region below and joyously cried out. Xiaoyan's eyes scanned the direction she had pointed in. His heart seemed to have been pinched. There was a white lotus covered with pink veins as an endless sea of magma slowly swimming around. It seemed as the energy of the entire magma sea was surging toward it. Demon flame essence. Xiaoyan's body involuntarily shook from excitement as he stared at the cream, white lotus with its faint pink color, purifying demonic lotus flame. Xiaoyan only suppressed the excitement in his heart while he stood in the sky. He exchanged glances with Jun-er. Only then did he carefully descend. He slowly came to a halt when he was around a couple dozen feet from the cream, white and pink fire lotus. The current purifying demonic lotus flame was completely different than the one from earlier. The purifying demonic lotus flame was extremely violent while this one was peaceful and calm. It did not unleash an attack when Xiaoyan and Jun-er approached. The purifying demonic lotus flame seems to be a little different than earlier, Jun-er finally stated in a somewhat surprised voice after watching the fire lotus quietly float around. The purifying demonic lotus saint has removed all of its old memories and intelligence. The current purifying demonic lotus flame is just like a baby who has just been born. Xiaoyan's face was filled with a heated expression. After having witnessed the brutal character of the purifying demonic lotus flame, he would not dare to refine it even after obtaining it. After all, even an ultimate expert as strong as the purifying demonic lotus saint had ended up dying because of the retaliation of the demonic flame. Even less needed to be said about a mere 2-star Dao Sheng like him. However, such worry had completely vanished now. The purifying demonic lotus saint's remnant image and the purifying demonic lotus flame had vanished from the world. Only the pure baby, like demonic flame essence, remained behind, and it no longer possessed any violence like it did earlier. Would doing this not end up damaging the spirituality of the purifying demonic lotus flame? Jun-Er frowned and asked. The reason natural heavenly flames were unique was because they possessed a spirituality that an ordinary flame did not possess. If this spirituality had vanished, the heavenly flame would not longer possess that dazzling allure. Given the purifying demonic lotus saint's skill, do you think that he would do something so foolish? This purifying demonic lotus flame is still filled with spirituality. However, some of the things that did not originally belong to it were snatched away by the purifying demonic lotus saint. Xiaoyan shook his head and said, Currently, it appears as pure as it did when it had just appeared in this world. It has not been influenced or contaminated by people. Looks like this purifying demonic lotus saint has been a great help to us. Jun-Er covered her mouth and softly laughed. This operation of theirs was about to end in failure, but the purifying demonic lotus saint had appeared halfway through and forcefully stripped the various negative emotions away from the purifying demonic lotus flame. This allowed them to taste some hope. What should we do now? The spatial tunnel has already vanished. I gave it a try earlier, and I'm afraid that given our current strength, we are unable to tear open the space here. Jun-Er hesitated before she once again spoke. Although both of them were elite 2-star Dao Shengs, this realm had been created by the purifying demonic lotus saint. There were still some seals existing in this realm, so it was not easy to tear through this space. Xiaoyan fondled his chin, his eyes returned to the fire lotus on the surface of the magma and laughed. Since we are temporarily unable to leave, I should refine the purifying demonic lotus flame here. Are you confident? Jun-Er knit her brows. Although the purifying demonic lotus flame had ceased randomly attacking, it was a terrifying existence ranked third on the heavenly flame ranking regardless of how one put it. It would not be easy to refine. Less than 50%. Xiaoyan faintly smiled but did not hide anything, after having witnessed the might of the purifying demonic lotus flame. A fear had formed for this demonic flame. Moreover, there was definitely less than 5 people around the entire world who were absolutely sure that they could refine the purifying demonic lotus flame. Hence, how could he pat his chest and guarantee that he could? A worry flashed through Jun-Er's eyes after hearing his low chances. There is no choice. If we bring the demonic flame essence out, countless of people will be tempted by it. At that time, even if I follow you to the Gu clan to hide, it will still bring trouble to the Sky Mansion Alliance. This demonic flame realm was personally created by the purifying demonic lotus flame. I think that even your father will not be able to barge in so easily. Otherwise, I'm afraid that he would have already intervened and snatched away the demonic flame. Hence, we are safe in this realm. I will only be able to refine the purifying demonic lotus flame without being distracted here. Xiaoyan smiled and said, Other people might think that we have met with mishap if we remain here without leaving for a long time, but this will save a ton of trouble. Ziyan and I have a dragon seal as a connection, so there isn't too much to worry about on teacher's side. Jun-Er mused for a moment after hearing Xiaoyan's words. She could only nod her head in the end. What Xiaoyan had said was reasonable. Currently, there were many people within the Central Plains who had cast their eyes to the demonic flame realm. If other people discovered them taking the demonic flame essence out, even the might of the Gu clan would not be able to suppress the greed in those people's hearts, which means they would attack without care. At that time, they would end up in an endless amount of trouble even if they could deal with them. Moreover, there was the Hun clan watching with ill intent by the side. There would be no time to quietly refine the demonic flame. In that case, when do you plan to act? Jun-Er's eyes softly rolled as she asked what he was planning to do. Haha, there is no hurry to refine it now. We still have some time. Refining the purifying demonic lotus flame is not a simple matter. I must prepare some things. Xiaoyan smiled and shook his head. His eyes became heated when he looked at the demonic flame lotus floating on the magma. He had thought that refining the purifying demonic lotus flame would not be difficult after reaching the Dosheng class, but the battle from earlier had allowed him to understand that if he did not prepare some things, the one who would end up being refined would be called into question. The spatial distortion had completely vanished outside of the demonic flame realm. The terrifyingly high temperature that originally covered the land had gradually weakened. The magma desert below had ceased churning before it gradually solidified into many white rocks. Many figures were suspended in the surrounding sky. Their eyes were filled with an unwillingness as they stared back at the spatial tunnel. After the spatial tunnel scattered, they lost contact with that magma realm. Regardless of what kind of technique they unleashed, they could not make the realm to reappear. Why is it that Xiaoyan and Xun are still not out? Ancestor Huo Yun stared at the sky with a grave expression. There had not been the slightest activity ever since they had escaped. Young Miss, Gu Nanhai anxiously stared at the sky. Cold sweat covered his forehead. Xun Er's position in the Gu clan was extraordinary, but he had lost her. There was no telling how he would be reprimanded after returning to the Gu clan. Elder, there is no need to blame yourself. Xun Er insisted on accompanying Xiaoyan. It is pointless even if you managed to react in time back then. Gu Qingyang softly sighed. He also had not expected Xun Er to take such a big risk and remain in that magma realm with Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan is extremely blessed. Nothing will happen to Xun Er either. What if something did? Gu Nanhai grit his teeth and asked. Even an expert like him could not remain in the demonic flame realm for long. Even less needed to be said about Xiaoyan and Xun Er. Let's wait. Yao Lao by the side sighed. It was pointless to say anything at this moment. The demonic flame realm had shut, and they were unable to enter it again. Hence, the only thing they could do was wait. The remaining individuals quietly nodded after hearing Yao Lao's words. The Gu clan seems to have suffered a great loss this time around. That Xun Er has an extraordinary talent. If she was given enough time, she probably would have become extremely terrifying. Although we did not manage to obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame, we have finished off 2 potential threats. The deputy hall chief, a short distance away, glanced at the Yao Lao's worried group while laughing in a strange low voice. Xiaoyan has the remnant image of the purifying demonic lotus saint on him. There is no telling if an accident will occur. The chief of the Hall of Souls merely frowned as he replied, Xiaoyan is full of tricks. He does not appear to be someone with a short life. Hunfeng slowly commented, We will wait a few days here. I want to see just what kind of tricks 2 juniors can pull. Old man Hunmo's eyes flickered slightly as he spoke in a low and deep voice. The 3 remaining individuals nodded after hearing him speak. They did not add anything more. Most of the people did not leave once the demonic flame realm closed. Instead, they chose to remain in the sky outside. Most people were unwilling to make a wasted trip, so they wanted to wait and see if any unexpected changes occurred. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye as everyone waited. Not the slightest activity happened in this place during these 7 days. Not even the slightest heat was emitted. This caused many people to feel disappointed. Some people remained unsatisfied and left amid this disappointment. It has been 7 days. Gu Qingyang bitterly laughed. He looked at Gu Nanhai in front of him, whose face seemed to have aged. He hesitated for a moment before asking, Elder, what is it? I don't know. Gu Nanhai shook his head. His voice was a little hoarse. Yao Lao's expression by the side revealed his fatigue. He was just about to speak when the space in front of him fluctuated. Ziyan's figure appeared in a flash, but she shook her head after appearing and said, I am unable to find the demonic flame realm. There is a seal placed on this realm, and I am unable to detect its location. The expressions of Yao Lao's group appeared dark upon hearing this information. However, Xiaoyan should be fine. The dragon seal will disappear if something happens to him. Ziyan extended her hand. There was a pale golden dragon seal on her palm. She turned her head to Gu Nanhai and smiled as she said, Elder Gu also need not be worried. Xiaoyan and older sister Xun Er are together. Given his character, he will definitely not allow anything to happen to her. He would also go crazy if anything happens to her. And if that happened, the dragon seal would not be this calm. Some life finally appeared on Gu Nanhai's face after he heard her words. He lifted his head and glanced at Yao Lao before sighing. Regardless of what the case is, this matter has already happened. I will need to return to the Gu clan to report on this matter. You can rest assured that I will dispatch people to constantly monitor this place. I will inform the Gu clan of any activity. Yao Lao replied in a deep voice. In that case, I will thank you. Gu Nanhai forcefully braced his attention. He cupped his hands to Yao Lao before staring deeply at distant space. Only then did he turn around and fly to the northern sky. Gu Qingyang hurriedly followed behind him. Yao Lao's group exchanged glances with each other, seeing those two leave. They quietly sighed, while everyone was gradually scattering outside of the demonic flame realm. Xiao Yan, who had prepared for 7 days inside the realm, slowly opened his eyes. He was finally going to start refining the purifying demonic lotus flame. He had waited over a decade for this day. Xiaoyan Ge, are you ready? Shan sat in the air. Her tightly shut pretty eyes were slowly opened. She looked at Xiaoyan, who had suddenly stood up beside her, and rolled her eyes. Finally, she let out a sweet smile. I am. Xiaoyan nodded. He looked at the formation above his head. This formation had been formed by connecting some faint lines of fire, but there was a vague chill being emitted from it. This is the cold fire formation. This kind of chilling Du Qi is not an ordinary cold fog. Instead, it is something that is produced after the temperature has been raised to a certain level. Normally speaking, it is a somewhat unique cold fire, although this formation is not as terrifying as the one placed by the purifying demonic lotus saint. It will still be able to slightly suppress the purifying demonic lotus flame. Xiaoyan pointed at the formation above his head and explained it to Jun who had revealed some doubt in her pretty eyes. Jun nodded with a sudden understanding after hearing this explanation. I am about to act to refine this purifying demonic lotus flame. Shun help me take a look. Xiaoyan smiled. His eyes shifted to the purifying demonic lotus flame as he spoke with a grave expression. Zhana's face became a lot more solemn. Refining the purifying demonic lotus flame would not be an easy task. If it was not done properly, one might even be refined by the purifying demonic lotus flame into ashes. Xiaoyan was naturally aware of such a risk, but he did not have the time to consider all the dangers at this moment. His hand seals changed, and the formation in the sky began to rapidly rotate before an unusually dense cold air erupted within the formation. After which, it shot to where the demonic flame lotus was located through Xiaoyan's control. Under the influence of that cold air, the magma below emitted a crack sound and solidified. Only the demonic fire lotus continued to slowly rotate as its many petals were covered by a thin layer of frost. Xiaoyan sighed in relief within his heart after verifying that the formation was of some use. He clenched his hand and a pink jade bottle appeared in it. The jade bottle was tilted and a pool of pale red liquid slid out. Finally, it fell onto the purifying demonic lotus flame. This pale red liquid was called drunken demon saliva. It boasted an extremely intense numbing effect. Of course, Xiaoyan did not hope to completely numb the demonic flame. He only wished to borrow the medicinal effects of this thing to cause the purifying demonic lotus flame to remain lazy. In this way, the demonic flame's strength would fall slightly and increase the refinement effect. The fire lotus slowly spread after the drunken demon saliva fell into the lotus. Even the flower petals had an additionally scent of laziness. Currently, the purifying demonic lotus flame might still possess some spirituality, but it did not possess any true intelligence. It still needed to have contact with humans for a period of time before it would become as intelligent as the previous purifying demonic lotus flame. Now, however, was the best opportunity for Xiaoyan to strike. Go! Xiaoyan did not stop after completing this step. He took out another medicinal pill from his storage ring. This medicinal pill immediately caused a bone-piercing cold fog to surge out. This medicinal pill was naturally the 9-yin yellow spring pill Xiaoyan had prepared. Xiaoyan flicked his finger, and the 9-yin yellow spring pill flew forward. It swiftly melted upon contact with the purifying demonic lotus flame and formed layers of ice on the surface of the demon flame. But this ice had only just appeared when it was vaporized by that terrifying high temperature. Thus, wave after wave of a sizzling white fog continued to rise from the body of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Xiaoyan exhaled a deep breath of air as he stood in the sky. He turned his head and nodded to Shun after which he suddenly turned his body. His body flashed and appeared in front of the purifying demonic lotus flame. At this moment, the lotus flower petals on the purifying demonic lotus flame's body had drooped, revealing a cluster of pink flames in the middle. The cluster of flames looked like a newborn baby. A high temperature that caused one's soul to flutter radiated from the pink cluster of flames. Xiaoyan's eyes were extremely heated as he stared at this cluster of pink flames. This was the true demonic flame essence. One could not underestimate the small size of this fellow. This tiny cluster could incinerate those experts at the 6th star of the Do Sheng class into ashes if they accidentally let it into their bodies. There was no need to doubt its frightening strength. Xiaoyan stared at this cluster of demonic flame essence. The heavenly flame within his body began to wildly circulate. Finally, it agglomerated on the surface of his body. But this powerful heavenly flame, merged from many heavenly flames, appeared a little sluggish as it gathered on the surface of his body. But his heavenly flame appeared much dimmer since it was being deterred by the purifying demonic lotus flame. The top 3 flames on the heavenly flame ranking were all the kings of the heavenly flames. An ordinary heavenly flame loses its strength after meeting one of those kings. Even though Xiaoyan's heavenly flame was the merger of 5 heavenly flames, it was not able to fight this purifying demonic lotus flame. Xiaoyan did not have the time to worry about the dimness of the heavenly flame on his body. He slowly extended a trembling hand in front of Jun Er's anxious eyes and reached into the fire lotus, after which he grabbed the cluster of pink flames. Bam! The moment Xiaoyan's hand touched the pink flames, those tiny flames began to swell in an instant. They turned into fierce flames that wrapped around Xiaoyan's body. A terrifying temperature that caused even the sky to change suddenly erupted. Xiaoyan Gay! This unexpected change startled Jun Er. She hurriedly stood up. Her pretty eyes were incomparably anxious as they stared at the cluster of pink flames. Xiaoyan's face became distorted because of a pain that pierced his heart as he stood within the burning flames. He crazily urged the heavenly flame on his body to mitigate the damage from the high temperature of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Although he had made a lot of preparations, Xiaoyan could clearly sense just how terrifying the 3rd-ranked heavenly flame on the heavenly flame ranking was. Hoo-hoo! An intense panting sound was emitted from Xiaoyan's mouth as wave after wave of fresh bright red blood seeped out of his pores. But this blood had only just appeared when it solidified into a cuticle that firmly adhered to his skin. This caused Xiaoyan to appear as though he was wearing blood-colored armor. Ha ha! Ha ha! I have put in so much effort for this day. This little pain will not be able to stop me. Fresh blood dripped from all over Xiaoyan's body as his hair turned to ashes, leaving behind a round bald head. At a glance, he appeared extremely comical and miserable. His eyes were still open, but blood flowed in front of them until his eyesight became a little blurry. He stared at the pink flames above his palm as a ferocious smile formed on his face, after which he stuffed the flames into his mouth in front of Jun Er's startled eyes and swallowed them into his body. Bang! The clothes formed by the ancient insect emperor on Xiaoyan's body instantly turned into ashes the moment the demonic flame essence entered his body. His skin rapidly vanished, revealing the flesh underneath. One could vaguely see some scales beneath his flesh. These scales were from the Phoenix Dragon ancient armor hidden within his skin. But at this moment, even the extremely hard ancient armor had become dull. Flame mantra. Refine it. An intense pain that could not be described reached every part of Xiaoyan's body. That intense pain would usually cause one to go crazy. But Xiaoyan's eyes merely turned bright red. He relied on his perseverance to endure as a mad roar sounded within his heart. The Do Qi within Xiaoyan's body fearlessly charged toward the cluster of demonic flames, after which the Do Qi forcefully wrapped around them and began to circulate them along the flame mantra's path. Hong Hong, the demonic flame's essence seemed to have detected something when they felt the refinement process of the flame mantra, causing them to put up an intense struggle. The temperature of the flames became more terrifying, causing some of the weaker veins in Xiaoyan's body to turn into dust. Even some of his bones were showing signs of weakening. Zhena cautiously watched the madly roaring and struggling Xiaoyan from the magma world in a startled manner. His body had shrunk by half and appeared quite frightening. Xiaoyan, ge. Zhena bit her lower red lip. Drops of bright red blood seeped out of the corner of her mouth, appearing extremely glaring. Every low roar from Xiaoyan was like a blade that cut her heart. That pain made even breathing difficult for her. This was the first time she could watch Xiaoyan swallow a heavenly flame. Although she did not feel it herself, she could have gained an idea of the indescribably intense pain that came from refining a heavenly flame. Xiaoyan had trained by himself over these years, Others might witness his shocking training speed, but they were unaware of the price he had to pay for his strength. Refine it. Xiao Yan's hissing roar once again echoed from the monstrous flame. But regardless of how much effort he put in, his body continued to become damaged. The strength of the purifying Domoic Lotus flame was far too vast and mighty. It was impossible for him to endure it alone. The terrifying flame permeated every part of his body and also filled his heart. It was impossible to expel these flames. Sooner or later, Xiao Yan's body would be incinerated from inside out. If this continues, Xiao Yan Getji will definitely die. June's hand rubbed away a crystal tear that had fallen from the corner of her eyes because of her heartache. A golden flame suddenly surged out of her body. Her body drew a pretty arc in the sky before landing in the cluster of flames that was torturing Xiao Yan to death. June, you! The person who had suddenly barged in caused Xiao Yan to recover some of his mind, which had been overtaken by an intense pain. His eyes parted as he furiously cried out, but the beautiful figure who had charged into the flame embraced his body like a shake after he cried out. That soft touch and serene fragrance was like a spark that immediately lit a wild flame within Xiao Yan's body. Xiao Yan firmly hugged that beautiful, delicate, jade-like figure. He heavily panted while his eyes recovered some reasoning. He clearly understood just what was going to happen if this continued. It was the same as that time with Medusa back then, but he had been unconscious at that time. This time, however, he was still awake. Xiao Yan Ge. You can only refine it if we are together. June's revealed an extremely pretty face. Her teeth gently bit Xiao Yan's earlobe while she enticed him with a bewitching voice. Those soft words finally caused Xiao Yan's eyes to turn bright red. He let out a low beast-like roar. With a ripping sound, soft clothes were wildly torn apart before they turned into ashes because of the high temperature. A romantic atmosphere soon covered this realm. Bang bang, a high temperature permeated the magma realm as a fire raged and spread apart like a furious dragon. The enormous surface of the magma sea occasionally erupted and formed shocking fire pillars. These fire pillars soon scattered down from the sky like rain. There was a 1,000-foot large pink fireball around 100 feet above the surface of the magma sea. Flames fiercely burned while wave after wave of a destructive strength seeped out, causing the surrounding space to slowly distort. If one's sight could see into the fireball, it was vaguely possible to see two people tightly entangled together, a golden flame and a purple. Brown flame climbed around each figure and blocked that demonic flame, which tried to invade from all possible openings. The human figures inside the fireball were naturally Xiao Yan and June. Xiao Yan's condition was much better after obtaining June's help. His body, which had originally turned into a mess, had also borrowed the undying effect of the 3,000 burning flame to gradually heal itself. The vast and mighty energy that the purifying demonic lotus flame had released poured endlessly into June's body due to the extremely fitting position of the two. The way they fit together relieved his body of the energy that had threatened to blow him apart. The enormous energy released by the purifying demonic lotus flame was gradually absorbed by the two of them together. This ocean-like energy caused Xiao Yan's and Shun-Er's auras to suddenly soar. It was impossible to gauge just how long the purifying demonic lotus flame had existed, but the energy contained within it was naturally indescribable. If one could safely absorb it, it could nourish anyone. An enormous fireball floated in the sky as fire waves continued to appear on its surface, causing ripples to spread in a circular fashion. The two individuals inside the fireball kept their eyes tightly shut, as though they had fallen into a slumber. Golden and purple, brown flames continued to surge out of their bodies to block the high temperature of the demonic flame and protect their bodies. Of course, on top of this external scene, the interior of Xiao Yan's body was still at a stalemate. He had barely maintained the equilibrium within his body with the help of his perseverance and June-Er's aid. But he was able to slowly refine the demonic flame essence now. Although this was occurring at a snail's pace, it was undoubtedly many times better than his inability to retaliate earlier. At the very least, the current Xiao Yan was able to sense a ray of hope. The searing hot realm was without even the slightest sign of life. There was only the large sea of magma that continuously spit out many magma pillars. A depressing dullness was the only theme of this world. Time also became blurry and monotonous amid this bitterness. Both Xiao Yan and June had sunk into a slumber. Not the slightest activity was emitted. but their abundant life force allowed others to understand that they were doing quite well. A three-colored fire sphere was gradually formed outside of their bodies with the flow of time: golden, purple, brown, and pink. The three colors represented three types of powerful heavenly flames. Of course, among the three colors, the pink color occupied most of the space. Both the golden and purple, brown flames could only maintain tiny areas, but as more time passed, the golden and purple, brown flames began to gradually expand. Faced with the Gold Emperor, incinerating heavenly flame, and the heavenly flame formed from 5 types of heavenly flames, this demonic flame, which could only rely on its own ability to fight and had been weakened by Xiaoyan, slowly showed signs of retreating. The time taken to overcome the stalemate from the three colored flames continued for an unknown period of time, but the fire sphere finally trembled on a certain day. The three colors had each managed to perfectly occupy 1/3 of the sphere. A mysterious equilibrium had formed from this clash. Flame mantra. Refine. Xiaoyan, who was within the fire sphere, suddenly opened his eyes after this equilibrium was reached. A low voice was emitted from his mouth. Xiaoyan's heavenly flame and the purifying demonic lotus flame had already formed a strange connection after interacting for this long period of time. Hence, the 2 types of heavenly flames began to circulate along the Qi method path of the flame mantra after Xiaoyan had activated it. Rumble. Layers of energy clouds suddenly appeared in the sky when the purifying demonic lotus flame began to be refined by the flame mantra. These dark clouds lingered above the fireball as huge waves were stirred on the surface of the magma sea. Xiaoyan had detected this change in the magma world, but his expression did not change as a result. After this long period of refinement, he had already become extremely familiar with the purifying demonic lotus flame. There would naturally be some unusual phenomenon occurring when a heavenly flame of this rank was refined. Jun-Er. It is time to reap a great reward. Xiaoyan studied the beautiful figure, slumbering in his embrace, and a warm smile flashed across his face. His arms gently hugged that beautiful figure's delicate willow-like waist, while the seal formed by one of his hands quietly changed after the change of Xiaoyan's hand seal. A wisp of the purifying demonic lotus flame in his body, which had been guarding itself, was finally refined, immediately. A liquid, like vast energy, reached every part of Xiaoyan's body. The medians within his body were completely filled within a moment. His flesh, muscles, bones, cells, etc. seemed to be like hungry ghosts that had not eaten for decades as they crazily devoured that endless energy. After sensing his body rapidly filling, Xiaoyan lowered his head and softly kissed Shun-Er's slightly raised, red lips. That incomparably vast energy crazily surged into her body like floodwater as well. Splash! The refinement continued. Waves of floodwater, like energy, circulated around Xiaoyan's body after being refined before being delivered to Shun-Er's body. After being absorbed by her body, some of the remaining energy would be transferred back into Xiaoyan's body. Moreover, the energy that was transferred back had become even purer. There was also another faint feeling to it. This feeling belonged to the Gold Emperor incinerating heavenly flame. As this refinement continued, both Xiaoyan and Jun-Er began to gradually form a perfect cycle. The endlessly mighty energy washed through every part of Xiaoyan and Shun-Er time and time again. Both of their auras climbed as time passed. Crack, crack, crack. As the demonic flame essence gradually lost its ability to retaliate, that enormous fireball began to calm down and the wild violence in it weakened. Both Xiaoyan and Shun-Er were tightly entangled in a strange fashion within the interior of the firefall. Layer after layer of a flickering, faint golden-pink crystal slowly appeared around them. Finally, it transformed into a crystal egg-like object that wrapped around the both of them. Xiaoyan and Jun-Er's aura completely vanished when this crystal egg formed. This magma realm had finally become void of life. Central Plains. 1 year had passed since the demonic flame had descended on the world. Although a year had already passed, the grand stories from back then were still being talked about by many people. A year was neither long nor short, but many things had still occurred across the Central Plains within a year. Soon after the demonic flame descended on the world, the Hall of Souls finally began to take revenge on the Sky Mansion Alliance for destroying the Manhall. 1/3 of the cities belonging to the Alliance had been attacked. The Sky Mansion Alliance did not show the slightest sign of giving in, as it dealt with the Hall of Souls' large offensive. The Alliance had gathered their troops and began to retaliate. Within a short year, these two super factions had begun to fight like fire and water. Although both parties suffered great losses, a final confrontation did not occur. After all, the current Sky Mansion Alliance was no longer the same as back then. With powerful experts like Ziyan and Xiao Chen, who were not weaker than the Chief of the Hall of Souls, present, even the Chief of the Hall of Souls did not have the courage to charge into the Alliance's headquarters. Moreover, that ancestor from the Pill Tower might not remain in the Falling Star Pavilion. But he had also given Yao Lao and the others a way to contact him. With such an ultimate expert aiding the Alliance, the Hall of Souls was no longer able to threaten the Alliance with extermination. It was due to these many reasons that the Sky Mansion Alliance had not fallen to a disadvantage during this large-scale war against the Hall of Souls. The Alliance had even vaguely shown signs of gaining the upper hand. Thus, the reputation of the Sky Merchant Alliance reached a peak within the Central Plains. After all, not a single faction in the past could gain such a good result against the Hall of Souls. Many people sighed emotionally because of the Alliance. The position of as the overlord of the Central Plains was gradually changing from the Hall of Souls to the new Sky Mansion Alliance. The Hun clan did not appear to be providing the Hall of Souls with much aid. Although it had quietly dispatched some experts, these experts could not give the Hall of Souls an overwhelming advantage. Yao Lao and the rest could only attribute this lack of aid to the Hun clan being restricted by the agreement. Of course, Yao Lao and the others did not forget to constantly pay attention to the spot where the demonic flame had descended, even as they fought this intense war with the Hall of Souls. But each probe only left them feeling disappointed. That area did not reveal the slightest unusual activity during this 1 year. If the dragon seal on Ziyan's hand wasn't still present, even they would have thought that something untoward had happened to Xiaoyan and Shun-Ir. They had no solution to this situation. All they could do was gradually focus their attention on their battles with the Hun clan. While everyone's eyes across the Central Plains were attracted to the battles between the Hall of Souls and the Sky Mansion Alliance, news that shook the entire continent quietly spread from an unknown source, the Shi clan. One of the 8 ancient clans had completely vanished in a mysterious manner, just like the Ling clan. Everyone could vaguely sense a mystery envelope the Central Plains.